Going to talk about paths to world-class performance. And it's based on a recent research article by Arne Gulich and other authors that was published in Science magazine. So, what's the path to world-class performance? And the research covered different fields from chess to music to sport. And we're looking at what we can do to help people get to that level, or what things will stop them from getting to that level. So, exceptional performers push the boundaries of human capability, drive innovation, and help solve the world's most pressing problems. So it's great to have people who are trying to achieve that high level. A lot of accepted wisdom, or perceived accepted wisdom, is that parents, especially, and coach and academies, think that if you start early, intensify in one thing, you get into elite programs as soon as possible. So that's your sporting academy, like a football club, they're trying to recruit under 6-year-olds into that academy. Okay. And then accelerated learning progress, you get there quicker. So if you want to get the best 10 or 11-year-old in the country, this method works. Okay. Because you're doing a higher early performance and more discipline specific practice. Okay. And within those narrow subset of population, it will lead to a higher level within them. But of course, that's not the entire population. The very best people, the very best, not just good, but great. Okay. So this research covered 34,000 adult performers, and these were Nobel laureates, Olympic champions, world-class musicians and chess players. The top level showed that this wasn't the case. Okay. And the questions they asked are exceptional performers at young ages and at late peak performance age largely the same individuals, i.e., the world's best at 10 or the country's best at 10, are they the best at 20 or 30? And are there any predictors around that, if we see like this generational talent at a young age, do they predict later exceptional peak performance? Someone says, gymnastics coach once said to me, yeah, we can identify talent at 5. Good luck with that. So we'll see whether that occurs. So what we know is there's a big reveal here. 90%, 90% of the early exceptional performers are not there at the top later exceptional performers. 90%. So you can see here, of all these people who might be considered exceptional at a junior age, only one might make it through. Okay, so it's a 9 in 10. And the top tiers are 2 discrete populations. Okay, let's see if I can hide this a second. I'll get this out of the way. Okay, so in athletics, the junior and senior international medalists are 80% different individuals. Now, although this research is new, it was already said in another book, which I probably didn't have to hand at the moment, Frank Dick's book called Winning, which I'm looking for on my shoulder here now. Can't flip and find it. Said this years ago with reference to athletics. Here it is. Now I'm back. So in this book, Winning, which I've had since at least 1995, Frank Dick said the same thing. Okay. So although this article's new, the information isn't new, and yet we keep repeating the same mistakes. Okay. So people who are winning world medals at senior age are different from those who are winning it at junior age. Same applies in chess. The under 14 senior international top 10 is 89% different. And then academia. So we don't want to just talk about sporting. Okay. The top 6.7% secondary school graduates and elite university graduates are 91% different people. Something changes from when you leave secondary school to when you're leaving university. So the universities are selecting so-called best people based on secondary school results. And yet once you're in university, once you've got into that, got over that hurdle, the top people, university requires a different skill set or different study methods from secondary school. Question is, do either of those prepare you for later life? That's a different question. But it's definitely the best university graduates are not necessarily the best secondary school graduates. Okay. So we know the story about the hare and the tortoise. the hare overcomes the tortoise in the race. It takes its time. And so that's what this analogy is. Okay. So eventual world-class performers demonstrate lower performance than their peers during their early years, but their progress accelerates and passes them later. So at 14, and this is really important for parents and sports coaches to understand, you might get someone who's going to a national level who is a higher performance there, okay, at 14. So you might have a really good 14, 15, 16-year-old, okay? But what you should be looking for is those ones who are gradually, steadily improving like this. And then about 19, 18, 19, 20, they start overtaking. So these good ones stay good, but these ones who are on their upward curve are overtaking them. Same applies with Nobel nominees and the Nobel laureates, the ones who actually get nominated, maybe ahead, but the ones who actually win it go ahead. At about and this is a slightly different scale here. This is years before the award nomination. Okay, so this is the first time, 28 years before there are nominations, there's a performance here. Okay, but as it gets to minus 12 years closer to it, they're starting to overtake it. And then when it gets to come to the actual nomination time, they're ahead. Okay, so the same trajectory, different timescales. So it's the inverted playbook here. So these are the predictors of junior success. And on the right is predictors of senior world-class success. So junior success, younger age to start the main sport. Anything with the word tot in the title. So we see it all around here all the time. Rugby tots, soccer tots, goodness knows what, taekwondo tots. They're getting people who can't even tie their shoelaces up or go to the toilet themselves are training. So by the time they're 6 or 7, they might be able to do skills because they've specialized. But where's the breadth? Where's the depth? Okay. World-class performers start this main sport later, especially when they, that comes in next. Okay. Junior success, if you want the best 13-year-old, put them into a talent program younger. Later people, world-class success, enter those talent programs later on. Junior success, they focus on one sport. They do more and more of that main sport practice. World-class people do less of that main sport practice. And here's the key one for parents as well and coaches. The big junior successes, they're specializing football. Football, or for example, as use football, one sport. For example, football. They're just doing football, football, football. The ones who are going on to higher success later on do other sports. Okay. So you see that. So there's two completely different things. So the parents who's bragging about their 11-year-old being the best or wanting to be the best, they will be specialized earlier. They will be doing that. They will be put into talent programs earlier, and they were just doing that focus. However, if you want your child to go on to higher level success and perhaps become a more well-rounded child and enjoy life a bit more, we want to delay their entry and delay specialization. So another graph for you here. So here's the overall performance. And again, to peak early years, peak performance age, world-class here, just below. So still good level. Okay. Intensive discipline-specific practice, accelerated early progress. So again, ahead, 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 ahead. Gradual early progress, extensive multidisciplinary progress. That means doing different things. Okay. And then coming up. Now, when we look at this gap here, this is why it's important as parents and coaches, we reward effort and encourage enjoyment. Because if all we're doing is focusing on results, these people might say, or the parents, we're still the parents, might say, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And yet, if they keep going, keep going, keep going, they gradually overtake them. So that's a really important message to make. Okay. Just because you're winning at 12 or 13, or you're not necessarily the best at 12 or 13, don't get carried away. So you think, but why does being slower and doing more stuff help you in the long term? So there's three main hypotheses for this. One, search and match. You find the optimal discipline for your talents. Two, enhance learning capital. You're building a broader base, so you've got more tools to draw from, or a bigger toolkit to draw from when you need to find the correct tool later on. And then you're also limiting the risks. You're avoiding burnout, injury, and loss of motivation. Okay, so we'll look at those in more detail. So, hypothesis one, the search and match advantage. Experiences in various disciplines increase the odds that performers find a discipline optimally suited for their talents and individual preferences. By doing a lot, you think, what do I really enjoy? Rather than, so as parents have said to me, we're a football family or we're a rugby family. Well, you're not really giving your child much of a choice there, are you? Their choice is being predetermined. Whereas if you allow them to sample different sports, they will find the right one or the right coach or the right environment that really makes them want to get their teeth into it. But you don't know if you only give them one. Okay. And then once they find their optimal match, they're more likely to develop exceptional peak performance, got more motivation. So the analogy they use here is instead of digging one deep hole hoping for gold, you sample from multiple sites to find the richest vein before then committing to dig. So you're sampling. Okay. So that's a really important thing. Two, you're building enhanced learning capital. So varying the tasks in different disciplines may expand the performance potential for future long-term specific learning. So it allows you flexible thinking. You see things from different perspectives, ideas and methods. You're learning from different coaches, different sports, which all feed into it. You're adaptable, so you have the ability to adapt to new tasks and situations. And you're learning to learn because each time you're going into a new environment, you have to find out what's the best way for me to learn. This all prepares you and enhances you for uh, challenges in life and within whether it's a sport or science or education, okay, or music. So the advantage of limited risk, hypothesis three, is that, sorry, it's Mary's in this graph, but here we go. So the intense specialization, you've got a higher chance of overtraining, wear down, overuse injuries, psychological burnout. You're being stuck in one discipline. It goes from being a hobby or play. It goes from play to hobby to like a career path where it becomes really serious. So then you don't enjoy it. And then social risks are, you know, if you're a swimmer, or a gymnast early on, then the parents and the siblings of you have to sacrifice as well as you're making those car journeys early in the morning or trips to frequent competitions. So then you don't become well-rounded, that you lose out on socializing with friends, spending time with your family, which isn't sport orientated, and gaining an education. Okay. So by broadening your approach, you reduce all those risks. So they say our talent systems, because it's not what we do at our club. Our talent systems are built on a flawed foundation. They've got a conveyor belt here of early achievers thinking that they'll become to a world-class performer. Okay. So around the world, admission and training policies and many elite training institutes emphasize early performance and discipline-specific practice. A talent identification program at Exeter for tennis, just down the road, were selecting 5-year-olds on how well they held the racket. Not ball skills, but how they held the racket, whether they held the racket correctly. Now, that's a coachable skill. That's a taught thing. So if you never held a tennis racket before, they weren't identifying talent. They were identifying who'd already had instruction. Okay, so great. You can hold the racket correctly at 5. Does that mean you are capable of becoming a world-class performer at tennis later on in life with all the variabilities and challenges that involves? So we get a lot of early achievers by pushing them into these hot houses, but long-term acquisition of the most exceptional human achievements. So, a new playbook? Well, I say that I've worked with the Southwest Talent Programme from Sport England, and Paula Jardine helped me understand this years ago. Frank Dick said it in his book Winning. There's other videos available about like the talent gold mines, and all this evidence is around. It's been around for years. This is a new study. Okay, so we're just featuring it again, and yet the flaws are still made. So, coaches and educators, can you rethink how you're selecting people beyond early performance? Encourage multi-year, multidisciplinary practice. So if we go some specific practice for the sake of breadth, and as a pair, so recommend a soccer player also play basketball, or a physics student also enroll in philosophy. Um, for policymakers and program managers, base program evaluations on long-term development, not just short-term junior success, and incentivize the gradual progress and diversify development plans. So you're not just right. How can we get this now? Athletics is brutal for this, track and field. Brutal, because all we're doing is measuring, measuring, measuring. And a lot of that is the early developers. We haven't even talked about that now. So the child who's gone through puberty at 12 is ahead of the child who isn't going to go at 14. And that success or failure is done in the public domain in front of thousands of people, hundreds, well, dozens probably in the UK. And so the motivation to continue in that is really hard. So we've got to encourage that and change that. And for parents, resist the pressure for early specialisation. Don't worry about what the other parents are putting on social media about how brilliant their child is and what their team is. Forget about it. Think about your child's long-term health and growth. Okay, it's hard. I've had to listen to it. I've had to sit here and listen to parents telling me how brilliant why their child is, what they've done, what external rewards they've done at an age. And my children just be nurturing, sampling, finding the things they choose. I'm lucky now that they both found something they really enjoy, two different disciplines. Both child's got two things they really enjoy doing at different age groups, and they're both happy within their sport. That's the main thing. So parents resist, and especially, well, every age group, but it really doesn't matter at under 5. So true potential is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. The evidence is huge across all disciplines. World-class performance emerges from a gradual multidisciplinary path. By fostering this breadth and patience in the earliest, we create the foundation for higher, more sustainable peaks of human achievement. Not only that, but we're not forcing our children to identify as one thing. I'm a cellist. I'm a chess player. I'm a gymnast. And then when that doesn't succeed or they fall out of it, their identity's isn't wrapped up in one little thing. They've realized, no, I'm someone who's tried playing the cello, who's tried playing chess, who's tried being a gymnast, and I've enjoyed and benefited from them, and now I'm specializing on this. So what do you want your child to be? Happy and well-rounded with a chance to go on? Or do you want to have an early achiever with all the downfalls from that and a risk of them becoming injured, burnt out, or worse still, losing that family support and you losing a decent relationship with your child? I know which I prefer. Thanks for watching.